Philadelphia 76ers have been taking the NBA by storm as they have now reeled off 14 straight wins. So is this team the best in the East? What is going on, y'all? Five Sports Talk back at it with another video talking, of course, some NBA here to talk about this Sixers team, which has honestly been incredible as of late. So now comes the question as playoff time approaches. We already know how tough the West is, and there's basically two teams out there though that are head and shoulders above the rest, and we know that's the Warriors and the Rockets. But in the Eastern Conference, okay, the Sixers have now jumped all the way up to third in the standings, even ahead of the Cleveland Cavaliers. They have hit 50 wins. They are now have the longest winning streak in the NBA. Oh, and this is without their best player right now, Joel Embiid, who is expected to be back for the first game of the NBA playoffs. But with that being said, how far can the Sixers team go? How good are they? Are they the best team in the East? Discussing all that, so let's get right into it right now. So when you start talking about the Sixers, of course, you have to start with their two bigs. And I really shouldn't say big for Ben Simmons because he plays point guard, but you guys know what I mean. Joel Embiid, the all-star center, who I think is arguably the best center in the game. Yes, that's right. I said it. He is that damn good. And Ben Simmons, who probably should have been an all-star this year, and he's going to be the Rookie of the Year. By the way, real quick, I don't know why they don't just make it a co-Rookie of the Year award with Ben Simmons and Donovan Mitchell. I know there's been this huge debate between the two, and honestly, both are very deserving. Donovan Mitchell has been nothing short of spectacular this season. They should just do co-Rookie of the Year. I believe they've done it before with Grant Hill, Jason Kidd, guys like that. So they definitely should look into that. Honestly, I think that would be the best solution because both are very deserving, and I would hate to see one or the other not win the award. But with that being said, if I had to pick one, if you had to put a gun in my head, I would pick Ben Simmons. Okay, so you start with Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid, and right now this team is obviously goes as these two go. But here is the thing. If you watch the Philadelphia 76ers, you know it is not just these two. Their team is deep, folks, okay? Now you have the #1 pick, Markelle Fultz, back. He's catching his stride. He looks good, folks. Remember all of those early sort of reactions and freaking out to how his shot was looking? He looked good, and he's only going to get better. I believe he should be a part of their rotation in the playoffs, and I think he will be. I think TJ McConnell's minutes are going to go away. So you take into account with Markelle Fultz now in the sort of mix. Now you add Robert Covington, who has been a defensive wizard. You've got Dario Saric, who's one of the most underrated forwards in the NBA. And then the two guys that they picked up during the season, who are I think are the most underrated pickups, are Ersan Ilyasova and Marco Bellinelli. Both are perfect for what the Sixers do because they give them some much-needed shooting. Ilyasova at the forward spot and Bellinelli at the guard spot, and then you add JJ Redick to that mix. Now you've got some shooting for when Ben Simmons drives the rim or when Joel Embiid's got the ball in the post. So very deep team, and I believe all those guys I just listed are going to be their 8-man, sort of 8-9-man rotation in the playoffs. So love it to see that. Okay, so now we take a look at the rest of the Eastern Conference. We know the Sixers, I believe, are legit because, like I said, this roster is legit. But let's take a look at the rest of the Eastern Conference. Of course, we've got the Toronto Raptors. Of course, we've got the Cleveland Cavaliers. I'm taking out the Boston Celtics now because no Kyrie Irving for the rest of the season. Their season is going to end early, prematurely. I'm sorry, Terry Rozier and Jason Tatum are not going to be enough, okay? So that basically leaves, like I said, the Toronto Raptors, and that basically leaves the Cleveland Cavaliers as the only real threats in the Eastern Conference, along with the Sixers. I'm sorry, Wizards fans, I'm not buying into your team. Milwaukee Bucks have underperformed severely. The Pacers have had a nice season, but I don't buy them as being better than any of these three teams that I've listed. So between these three teams, who is the best in the East? So let me start out by comparing the Sixers and the Raptors, and then I will get into the Cavaliers real shortly. So with the Sixers and the Raptors, I mean, if you look at the roster, the Raptors obviously are very deep. They have, I think, the best bench in the league, arguably. Fred VanVleet's been amazing for them. DeLon Wright's good off the bench as well. So their bench is very deep. But if you look at their starters, the only advantage that the Raptors have over the Sixers is basically at the two guard spot with DeMar DeRozan, who's obviously better than JJ Redick. If you look at every other position, I mean, Ben Simmons, I'm taking him over Kyle Lowry, but you could go either or. And then you have Joel Embiid, who's better than Jonas Valanciunas, and then I'll take Dario Saric over Serge Ibaka as well. But with that being said, the real clear-cut advantage is just DeMar DeRozan. So it just goes to show you that as much as we think the Raptors are the best team in the East, not that they've only clinched the record for the number 1 seed, but it's hard to fathom that a Sixers team that used to be so bad is now better than the Raptors. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying it's much closer than you think. With that being said, though, I'm still taking the Raptors in the playoffs over the Sixers, and the only reason I'm doing it is just because of playoff experience. Look, I'm all about numbers and analytics, and when I look at the numbers here, the Sixers, honestly, the numbers favor them. They're better in defensive rating than the Toronto Raptors. They're a better defensive rebounding team than the Toronto Raptors. Now, offensively, it's very close. They're both high-scoring teams. So really, what does it come down to for me? I have to take the sort of intangible things, if you will, with playoff time comes playoff experience. And yes, this Raptors team has been there much more than the 76ers. This is going to be their first time in the playoffs, and honestly, it does matter if you've been there and done that. I'm not saying the Raptors have done that, but they have been there, and they have gone somewhat far in the playoffs. So I think the Raptors will obviously go farther than the Sixers. And honestly, folks, this is just the beginning for the Sixers. This is not a bad thing because they're going to be a force to be reckoned with for years to come, okay? They're already a year ahead of schedule, so the fact that they're going to get to the playoffs this year and they've won 50 games is incredible in itself, okay? So with that being said, I will still take the Raptors over the Sixers, though it would not shock me if the Sixers were to pull off that upset, if they were to meet in the playoffs. But with that being said, I think the Raptors are still going to go farther than the Sixers. And now we get to the Cleveland Cavaliers, okay? The Cavaliers, honestly, I'm just going to throw numbers out. And I just said I'm a numbers guy, but here's the thing. When you look at the Cavaliers, I cannot make a case for the Cleveland Cavaliers to get to the NBA Finals looking at the numbers that you look at. And you look at everything in terms of, team defense, team offense, everything that comes into play here, because the numbers just don't match up and favor the Cavaliers. They have been atrocious defensively all season long. We know that. And honestly, it's just boils down to LeBron James, the best player in the NBA. And I have no other argument for the Cavaliers getting back to the NBA Finals than to say that they have one LeBron James. Now, I will say I have not been a hypocrite because I have been on the Cavaliers all season long. I have not wavered. They had some very rough stretches throughout this entire season where a lot of people got off the bandwagon and they were not picking the Cavs. I still stuck with it. I'm still sticking with Cleveland to get to the NBA Finals because of one LeBron James. Why? You saw when the Cavaliers and Sixers recently just played, LeBron James, even though the Cavaliers trailed for much of that game, when he decided it was time, they got back into that game, and you are going to see playoff LeBron go at it for 48 minutes every single game of the playoffs. So I don't believe that the Cavaliers will be trailing for much part of the game when it comes to playoff time, because we will see that playoff LeBron, okay? And I know he missed those key game time free throws, but with that being said, he still got them back in the game, okay? And my second point, this is very underrated. A lot of people have not paid attention to this. This Cavaliers roster, since they have made those trades, have not all played together. And I'm talking LeBron, Kevin Love, George Hill, Jeff Green, Rodney Hood, Jordan Clarkson, Kyle Korver, Larry Nance, J.R. Smith, Tristan Thompson. All of these guys have not been healthy at the same time. This team has had some major injury issues. Now, come playoff time, it is going to be a short rotation, so maybe J.R. Smith, guys like that will be out of the rotation, but we will see. But health does matter, and depth does matter, so the Cleveland Cavaliers have not been healthy all season long, so that's another reason I have them going to the NBA Finals. So, in conclusion, I have the Cavaliers still getting to the NBA Finals, then I have the Raptors, then I have the Sixers as the third best team in the NBA. So I love the Sixers' potential, but I still think come playoff time, playoff experience matters. I don't think the Sixers team is going to beat either the Raptors or the Cleveland Cavaliers. That's just what I think, folks. Let me know what you guys think. Leave a comment down below if you agree or disagree. Make sure to follow me on my social media links down below for that. And as always, thanks for watching.